Hey everybody, it's Mikki here. You're listening to Mikkipedia, and this week on the podcast I speak to returning guest Darren Ellis about movement, mobility and function as we age. As always, this is a grounding conversation that speaks to Darren's passion in the fitness world of helping us live our best, most awesome lives. And for those of you unfamiliar with Darren, he has been on the podcast several times over the last almost 6 years now, and we have had conversations about fat loss, strength training, mobility, independence, resiliency, and all of those things which help us become a stronger, more independent version of ourselves. And that is essentially what our conversation today is really based around. So it's a real passion point of mine, as you know, to help people be stronger, capable, and more confident. And Darren is absolutely on the same page, which is, of course, why he is the brains behind the strength training component of Mondays Matter, and that's our program where registration kicks off next week for a 10th of August start. So I thought this was the perfect opportunity to chat to Darren about some of these most important topics. So Darren Ellis has a master's in strength and conditioning and has an aim to share what he's learned with as many people as possible, teaching them that there are no shortcuts with exercise, but that it can be achievable and even fun with good coaching and a supportive peer group. Darren is a regular contributor to a variety of popular print and web-based health and fitness magazines. He's a public speaker and consultant to sporting organisations, businesses, universities and television. His specialties are strength training and nutrition for fitness, sport, weight loss, muscle gain and longevity. Now, Darren can be found over at darrenellis.coach on the interweb, and you can also find him on Instagram and social media at the same handle. And as I said, he does the strength-based component of Mondays Matter, which I'm just so thrilled that he's a part of that, but he also coaches independently. And so if you wanted to connect with him either as a one-on-one client or as part of his app, you can find him over at darrenellis.coach. Before we crack on into the interview, guys, I would like to remind you that the best way to support Mikkipedia is to hit subscribe on your favourite podcast listening platform. Give us a 5-star review. Why not? It will just help other people find Mikkipedia in amongst the literally thousands of other podcasts out there. So more people get to hear from the guests that I have on the show, like Darren Ellis. All right, guys, enjoy this conversation. Darren, good morning. The listeners just missed me cracking open my one of the things I love, Musashi energy drinks. So, which is like I don't often do it at like 9:15 in the morning. Usually it's either in the gym or maybe before if I'm driving to go for a run or whatever. But I just bloody love them actually, and I'm not even going to say it's my quote unquote guilty pleasure because. There's no guilt involved here. No such thing. So this is what I'm doing.
The only issue for me is it just means I can't have as much coffee. So I never touch them for that reason. They taste good, but I've only got about the tolerance for 2.
Yeah.
Although congratulations, listeners, I took a 3rd one just on board a second ago for the purpose of this podcast, so that I can rant with full steam, you know.
Oh, I love it.
Usually 2's my limit. Otherwise, I get just a little bit jittery.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. So I typically have a coffee when I get up in the morning. Alongside, I have my Good Green Vitality. I have collagen, aminos, and creatine, just in a little bit of a drink. It's not much. It's like, I don't know, if we were counting calories, it'd be about 150. But I do enjoy that alongside coffee because actually, for whatever reason, I've lost the ability to tolerate coffee by itself.
Oh, yeah.
I know not all the time, but I just feel like I need something alongside this. And then because I like a good volume of coffee with breakfast, I've had to switch to decaf for that. So I go machine for my very first one, then I go plunger decaf, which I like the flavor, I like the volume.
Yes,
I don't know.
I hear that.
And because I generally have my caffeine before, well, most of it. In fact, I do have a coffee at 2 o'clock post lunch, just a single
Hmm.
shot. I enjoy that by itself, actually. But isn't it funny how tastes change and things like that? And I'm quite a fast metabolizer of caffeine. I've had my genetics done. I know that to be true.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I've always been fairly sensitive to it, but I guess I sort of pioneered. It was just a running joke with the owner of a cafe that I frequented, but I'd go in and I'd ask for the Daz double, and that was a quad decaf shot.
Oh, oh
because
yeah.
because it was a decaf, but I wanted enough to actually enjoy it. And yeah, I've actually just started buying decaf beans that I hand grind. But that's only because my other grind is full of the good stuff. But yeah, it makes just a nice hot drink on a winter's day as well. When I can't tolerate extra, I'll usually do a decaf long black after lunch.
Nice one. And in fact, I've spent, I would say, several minutes on ChatGPT over the last couple of months asking questions like, what's worse for me at this time of night, a Coke Zero or a glass of wine? Because, of course, Coke, I have a Coke Zero, like maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 times a week with my little pretzels at about 5 o'clock. And I'm like, I wonder whether for my sleep it would be better if I just had a glass of wine. But
What's the verdict?
well, apparently ChatGPT tells me, and I say use only human clinical randomized trials where possible. So I try to give it those little guardrails. Nah, alcohol's worse.
Oh, that's it. And
Yeah.
I think that ties into sort of what you're saying about it's maybe not so necessarily about taste changing, but us changing. And I know I went through a period where I was fully on board with the idea that a couple of drinks, even I was working in a pub at the time, so it wasn't just a drink; it was two or three, was really helpful for getting to sleep. Uh, but I was also 23 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now, one or two drinks. I mean, I'm not going to go Stephen Bartlett about it, but generally one or two drinks does really kind of tax me the next day, and so it is a bit of a choice around those things. And I think it ties into sort of some of our conversations going forward today. What used to work doesn't always work now. Exercise, nutrition, other lifestyle factors, and recognizing that and making peace with it is often the first step.
100%. It's that acceptance, right? On that caffeine thing, what I find super interesting is that a lot of older people in my life generally enjoy a coffee post dinner. Like if I think about what my mum used to love, she
Yeah,
used to
my
love
father.
having a coffee. Yeah. And Barry's mum also loves, like she will have a coffee like in the, after dinner, and they swear that it doesn't affect their sleep. Albeit in my head, I'm like, you just probably have shit sleep because you're old.
Yeah, and maybe that's a different kind of acceptance. Is they're maybe not making the association with what could be causing it, right? And certainly far be it from me to try and take away someone's pleasures, but yeah, perhaps thinking, oh, I'm not sleeping so well, and making that connection is the key part. Yeah, my dad was saying he swears by it. He'd love one after dinner. But yeah, interesting.
Yeah, it is. Hey, Des, I just went through your social media feed. So for the listeners who are unaware, and I'm sure most of you know this by now, but Des does the functional movement / strength piece, is how I would put it, for the Mondays Matter program. And of course, we're kicking off another full Mondays Matter program at the beginning of August. So this is always such a great opportunity, sort of, I'd say in the depths of winter, but to be fair, it's like just blasting sunny outside right now.
So good.
It certainly doesn't, I mean, it's cold, but it certainly doesn't feel sort of gloom and doom. It's always a great opportunity for us to catch up pre a Mondays Matter and just, I don't know, chew the fat on how we view certain things. And anyway, just because you're a bit of a guru around this stuff. And I was looking at your social media and you had such an excellent post, and it got quite, it was, obviously people really appreciated it as well, about hip replacements actually, and the sort of, how much of these types of, I don't know, they're not injuries, are they? They are what physical situations, I don't know, can't think of another way to put it, are genetically based versus environment based. Because of course, to your point, I think you said your dad's had 2 hip replacements, and essentially what you're doing now with your mobility, you just and functional movement, you're just trying to avoid that as much as possible. So can we just chat a little bit about that?
Yeah. Yes, it's certainly the shape of the hip. There's a genetic component to that, and so some people are predisposed to it. But like so many things, genetics plus environment, it doesn't always. It's not always a given that you're going to have the thing that your parents had or your grandparents had. 100%, you still have to often trigger the event, and it can be quite an acute thing. But generally, it's much more of a chronic, long term over the course of your life, and certainly in the case of joints, wear and tear, if you are just not built for getting down in a deep squat and you force the issue. And this is something that I've had to we're already on a tangent, but it's sort of related. I had a long CrossFit background where range of motion and doing things right and well were a big tenet of the methodology. And I still adhere to that, but it can be a case of trying to jam square peg into a round hole. And the example using the squat is whether we were doing a back squat or a front squat or an overhead squat, some people lack the mobility to get to full depth. And we would then be trying to help them get there with mobility drills and various other drills. But one thing we did not do was put plates under the heels, elevate the heels, which takes the ankles out of it, but also moves center of gravity into a more favorable position and allows almost everybody to squat to a good depth. Because what that was doing was cheating. But not everybody is built the same. If you have really long femurs relative to your torso or your lower limbs, it's kind of like you're trying to hang your bum out over a cliff, and you're going to fall over if you try to squat deep. So nowadays, I almost put just about everybody up on some sort of slant board or heel block, because, and that's kind of speaking generally, that a lot of people lack that mobility, full stop, let alone have genetic predisposition to be a poor squatter in the first place. So where I'm going with that is, if we have issues that are potentially detrimental to our joint health, we shouldn't be just going, well, the best in the world who can do that move. We should be trying to be like them. We should be saying, how can I adapt what I need to do for me and my situation? And so, yeah, that's it. If I've got the hips, the genetic lottery for hips that aren't going to like certain things, I need to be aware of that and be willing to modify if necessary.
Well, that's interesting, Des. This came up at a lunch, had some friends around for lunch, and Helen was telling me about friends of hers who did high rocks, your favourite sport. I feel like you may have changed your, I don't know if you've changed your opinion, but anyway. And one of the stations of high rocks is the wall balls to squat.
Yeah.
And you've got to squat a certain depth.
Yes.
And she's saying her friend, literally, because of their hip, the way that their hips are structured, or the way that the sort of ball and socket sort of fit for them, they couldn't squat deep enough. And so they were there forever. And actually, to be fair, I cannot remember I don't know how that ended up playing out for that particular person, but it just came up in our conversation that they anatomically were unable to get into that squat position. Like you mentioned, how, if you don't know that you've got this genetic predisposition, then, you may be on the back foot, but how would anyone know that they had that unless they tried it, I guess?
Yeah. And so, of course, it's maybe then we're saying, because it can be too easy to say, if it hurts, don't do it, because often then we are avoiding some of the things we need to do. It certainly can't hurt to improve your mobility. And one thing I do sometimes to try to work around issues like squat depth is going joint by joint. So ankle drills, knee drills, hip drills separately, so that we're improving the health and the range of those joints, and then try to put them back together in something resembling a better squat. The key is accepting kind of what I was saying about the coffee. If you're like, I've tried this and it still doesn't seem to work for me, then maybe it's time to try something else. And another example is a deadlift, which is if a human cannot move more weight than with a deadlift. All right. I mean, we can drag a jumbo jet in our teeth and other circus tricks, but that's not lifting it off the ground. In terms of moving weight off the floor, the deadlift is the biggest, strongest lift for a human. All the records are there. But that means a lot of force going through the body. And of course, we hear deadlift and many of us think, oh, lower back, this, that, and the other. And it's not inherent that if you deadlift, it's harmful to the lower back, but certainly there's stress applied to that region. Now, if you are 7'6" versus your friend is 5'4", well, the barbell is the same height off the floor. So it's a lot easier for the shorter person to get down to that than old mate who's heads up in the clouds. So the chances of them having a nice flat back, good position, taking a lot of the force through their glutes and their hammies, the prime movers, versus all of it being on their low back is quite low, or quite high, sorry. So that's where we do things like a sumo stance squat, which is take the feet really wide, and that brings the tall guy down closer to the bar. Is it cheating? Only if we're in a competition where they say it has to be a conventional lift, like powerlifting or CrossFit. But that person is not, it's like so many things. The 5'5" person can't play basketball, or won't be very good at it, should I say. And the 7'6" person won't be very good at powerlifting or CrossFit. Should they never deadlift again? No, it's an important pattern, bending over, hinging. Can we find a better way to do it? Yes, sumo deadlifts, Romanian deadlifts, maybe with dumbbells versus a barbell, because we can bring the weight closer to our center of gravity. Maybe single leg Romanian deadlifts, because then that helps the pelvis stay connected to the spine and we get less lower back stress. There's a lot of other things we can do versus this blanket of this is the best exercise because it allows us to move the most load. The deadlift is king. Everyone should deadlift. That's a mistake in my eyes. A hinging, bending deadlift-like pattern is good for everybody. And then it's like find the one that works for you and causes you the less grief.
So a couple of things from that, like I don't love deadlifts or back squats actually. So I use the Smith machine with the back squat. I have to work myself up to it, and it's often, if I can, it'll be the first thing that I do, because it sort of, I don't know why, I feel like I'm going to injure myself. Even I don't even lift that heavy, to be honest, Darren. I try and work on powering myself up a bit faster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the Bulgarian split squat, I'm totally fine with doing. I don't mind that one at all. Actually, I wonder whether I'm not doing it properly because everyone like talks about it like it's the worst exercise in the gym, and I'm like, I don't mind that one. Like, yeah,
it's funny. It's definitely got a reputation, and it's an interesting comparison. And again, something I've changed my mind on about a lot lately, or not lately, it's been for a while, but something like a back squat, again, has technical issues and anatomical issues that might prevent you from doing it as well as other people. It also has a very high stimulus, like it is a great exercise, and the ratio of that stimulus is also a very high fatigue. So if you did a set of really, not even heavy squats, but tough squats, so whether that's 5 reps or 15 reps with a load that will make you tired, you finish the squats and you kind of need to go have a little lie down. And then the day after, you're pretty smashed as well. Maybe the day after that, right? Whereas if you did Smith machine squats, where for people who aren't aware of it, it just positions you in a better position. Your feet out in front a bit more. The quads and the glutes take more of the load, and the lower back takes very little of the load. You can make that set hurt more because you're in a more advantageous position. So the stimulus is high, even higher, but the fatigue is lower. So you'll walk out of those, or coming back to your Bulgarian split squat, same again. We're now putting it on one leg. We're getting more range of motion, and we are hitting the quad and the glute very, very high. Low back's almost no load at all. Again, very high stimulus, and you'd walk around kind of like, straight after the set, that was pretty hot. And then the next day you'd be okay. You might have sore quads, but systemically you wouldn't be as cooked as you would from squats. So some movements have a great stimulus, but they have an associated fatigue that might not make them the wise choice for where you are in life. So I tend to like think nowadays about what can give us the best stimulus, but also like not too much fatigue. And so that's where we'll do things like leg extensions to talk about quads and legs. Still a hard set of leg extensions, you finish a set, feel like you could crack a couple of eggs on your quads and cook them for breakfast, but sort of 5 steps away from the machine, you're already feeling better. And so that's, again, very high stimulus, but low fatigue. So might suit somebody who is a runner, is older, is not sleeping well, high stress, is new to exercise, that sort of thing. We don't automatically say we should default to a back squat. And I can teach anyone to back squat, but maybe that's not the right movement for them.
Is it a central nervous system thing? Like, is it something to do with having to recruit so many more muscles or nerves, or what is that?
Yeah, it's pretty much that. It's much more of a full body movement. You know, a back squat or a deadlift is a real full body movement. There's some theory around if the load is on your spine, so bar on your back, that compression has some of that nervous system fatigue. Axial loading is the fancy word for it, and both back squats and deadlifts create a lot of that, and so shifting it away from the spine can sometimes be helpful. And that's the thing, because having a strong spine and muscles associated with it is important. It's just finding the right load to meet you where you're at, and there's just other ways to do it.
Do you know, Darren, this is, I'm tangenting off this into one of what you were discussing before about mobility. So a couple of weeks ago, you'd put on your social media post this, your mobility routine in the morning. And I looked at that and I went, and I sent it to Hubster and said, this is what you need to do. And he's been doing it since, actually, most days, and variations of. So he uses that as inspiration to move. And what I think I said to you on that post as well, or I sent you a message afterwards saying, you know what, I've completely ignored mobility up until the last month. And then with my hips and my hamstring, I just had continual issues that seemingly weren't getting better regardless of what I've tried. And then I jumped into the Les Mills On Demand app and did their hip mobility for 15 minutes. Literally the next day it made a difference. And for the last month, I've been doing it 5 times a week, and I'm running the way that I was before I started having, I have confidence now when I go out, I can run fast, because my lack of mobility, the shortening and the tightening of my muscles was preventing me from running fast. I couldn't get that speed up without it hurting and without my muscles further shortening. And I thought it was something that the osteo had to fix. I thought that I had to use this little TENS machine. I thought peptides might be what I need to do, but actually, no, it's just plain old mobility. And I am absolutely sold on it now.
Oh, interesting. And it's, I've been kind of like the mobility guy for a wee while, although I haven't made that sort of the core of what I do. But in the last 2 years, again, experiencing similar things to you. And again, if I'm a mobility guy and I'm already sort of going, well, my shoes seem further away at the moment when I'm trying to put them on. I used to say that strength was the foundation, was the bottom of the pyramid. That was the most important thing. And I still rate it very, very highly. But lately I've been thinking, does mobility actually come underneath that? I used to go strength, then mobility. And I'm wondering, if the places shift, and maybe it's just as we get older, but heck, it doesn't matter if you're strong, if you're still kind of groaning to get out of bed and you're struggling to put your shoes on, and the toilet seems a long way down. And I do meet a lot of people who are quite strong and capable and fit. And then we do something like getting up off the floor, and it's a real struggle. You think the invisible man was sitting on them, and so I've really changed my tune on that. I think it's much more important to, if you don't have the range, you can't apply the force you want. Whether it's in daily living or the activities you love or the sport you want to play.
So a couple of things with that. With this sort of increase in this mobility stuff, I'm just no longer nearly as sore as I am as I used to be in everyday life. I can sit for a lot longer. without my sciatica sort of, I don't know if it is sciatica, but kicking in on my hamstring.
Yeah.
But also my balance is so much better. Like I always mean to do those balancing exercises when I'm like brushing my teeth at night. Literally every single day I'm like, right, I'm going to do that. Every single day I forget. I have never done this. And I've been thinking about it for a year. So I need to improve that. But when I'm putting my socks on, I'm like, I use it as a balancing sort of activity.
Nice. Yeah,
I'm way better at doing that now.
Interesting.
So I just thought I'd share that just in case anyone else needed further inspiration to start. And actually, I don't think you need 15 minutes. I don't know about you, what you think, Darren, but as I understand, like 30, I read something somewhere that 30 seconds of a particular, not necessarily static, but maybe PNF stretching or something was actually enough for that muscle and tendon. But you might be able to speak.
It can be, and yeah, I think the science will argue about various factors of it. But if we just speak anecdotally through experience, I would always rate. And this is nothing against yoga, but just using it as the sort of maybe a classic and common example. 1 60-minute yoga class a week will not get you the same mobility as splitting that into 8 minutes every day.
Yeah, nice.
And I've saved you 4 minutes.
Yeah,
if I did the maths correctly.
You did do the maths correctly.
So it's the consistency. So yeah, your 15 minutes is great, and it's not very long, but I get it. Like sometimes it really is hard to find a 15-minute window to do mobility on top of everything else. So yeah, if we took your 4 15-minute sessions and turned that into 7 10 minutes, it'd be great. And so my personal is 5 to 10 minutes. Now, of course, I do have, I guess, above average mobility. So I certainly can maintain, at the worst, I can maintain it with such a small amount. If you are very immobile, it could be that you could use more than that to make some decent progress. But if you're currently doing 0, then 5 minutes a day is going to win. You're going to make some progress from where you're currently at. And that's what I will say is like sort of 1 lower body, 1 upper body movement. Do each of those for 1 or 2 minutes and try to get that happening every day, and just do the same ones. So you don't have to think about it. Get those ones, start to notice a bit of progress, and then you can do what Baz does, is like use that as inspiration. All right, what's another one I could maybe add to the mix, or maybe I just swap this lower body one for another lower body one, and then carry on like that for a couple of weeks.
I think what I've really appreciated about the hip mobility one that we do, we've got like 4 or 5 that we go through because that's about all they've uploaded. One, the instructor is clearly hypermobile. Like she puts her leg over her, like she's like on her front and she puts her leg like across her body, like the other way. Like I'm like, okay, you're so hypermobile. But interesting with it, like I found exercises within there that really like grease the groove. So even on a day when I'm not doing it, even if I go down and get into like a 90-90 with my legs and do that sort of movement backwards and forwards, I immediately notice a shift and a change, which is so nice. And it's so easy.
Yeah, you can very instinctively figure out the ones that are best for you. And then, do those ones. A note on Madam Hyperflexible, because I say that on my behalf as well, and the post I actually just did this morning, which was a bit of something pretty circus tricky, that shouldn't be something we should aspire to necessarily. That's really just it's a bit of we've got to play the game sometimes and get the views, but the fancy mobility drills are not how you get mobile. They are just showing they're an expression of mobility. The same way that you back squat to get strong for running. The running's how you express your leg strength. So the drills don't have to look fancy to improve your mobility. It's the fancy ones though that get saved and the views and the comments, right? Because they look fancy. But it's very simple stretches like a 90-90 or the down dog style stuff from yoga. I really love some kind of lunge position. It's my go-to because It's like
Really?
calves, hamstrings, low back, shoulders, all in one hit, you know. And so, yeah, those simple drills stand the test of time. So for me, it's like 90-90, down dog to cobra, something called the perfect stretch, which is kind of like a lunge with a rotation.
Oh, yes, no, I like that one.
Yeah, and I'm done. Like those are my top three. Or maybe something squatty. I call it a monkey squat, where I sort of like touch my toes and then squat down and then reverse it. And that's it. Like so 3 or 4 or 5 stretches. And I keep picking up funky stretches on the internet and saving them just like everybody else. I'm saying, oh wow, that's pretty cool. Do you think I do that stretch? No, I get up at 4 a.m., have a coffee, and drag my blairy ass over to the corner of the carpet. The dog jumps on me, and then I do the stretches I know, because I don't have the bandwidth to try that funky one, nor is it probably going to be that helpful for me.
Do you know, it's funny you say that, because I do very similar things with workouts. Like, I save people's workouts.
Yes.
I buy workout programs.
Mm-hmm.
I've got all of your workouts from Monday's Matter, and I look at them and I'm like, they look amazing. Do I ever do them? No, I go into the gym every time and I do lat pull down. I do a version of bent over row. I do a version of a lunge. I do a version of a squat or a leg press. And I love doing like rear fly, and then do some chin ups and pull ups. And I do literally almost the same thing every time. But in my head, I get inspired by these other works and think, oh, I might just have one session when I just go in and do something random, but I always default back. And I think, to your point, it's the bandwidth thing. Like, it feels too effortful in the moment to do anything that I don't already know.
Yeah. And funny now, because you're like, I've basically given myself advice that you've then echoed back to me, that when I program for my wife and I say to her, oh, how was your workout today? And she's like, oh yeah, I looked at what you'd written, but I did some skipping, and then I did my squats, and I really liked some hip thrusts. I did those today. And then, and I'm like rolling my eyes, like, I put so much effort into your program, but yeah, I've got to accept that sometimes the bandwidth is not there for being told what to do, but to do what you know.
Yeah, but interesting though. So, because I have various apps that I do. You know, I love Jory Fit. We've talked about her over the years, and she's really changed her programming over the years. And for whatever reason, I will continue to look at what she puts in the app and completely ignore it. But people love it, and people say this workout was amazing. So there are definitely people who, and we know through Monday's Matter program, there are people who always follow the exercise plan. They always follow the meal plan, and they love someone else sort of setting that up for them. So I guess bandwidth for something, like, bandwidth is different for different people. Like, the effort involved is, I guess, placed in different places, I suppose.
Yeah, and it is a tough one, because I get it. I still actually coach one group class a week at my local gym. It's nice to keep my hand in the game. And people say to me, I come here because I just like being told what to do and I don't have to think about it. And I kind of get my back up at that comment.
Do you?
Even though I understand it, because I really do understand it. But it's because it's a spectrum. Like, and you know me, that I'm sort of not anti-performance, but this need for optimization of being the best, everything being the best in terms of performance, versus sort of accepting where you're actually at with life and trying to just do the best you can is often a better approach for a lot of people. But at the same time, there's maybe a slide where we're giving up a little bit too much, and sacrificing some autonomy might be a mistake for people. And that's where I do personally believe that say a group class should be more icing on the cake than the cake of your fitness practice, because what about that shoulder niggle that you've had for 5 years? What about that hip mobility that seems to be slowly disappearing? What about the fact that you like to ride your mountain bike and you need aerobic fitness, or insert anything that's personal to you? What about the fact that you're only getting 5 hours sleep, whatever? And so just showing up to a class and not knowing what you're going to get can be, it's roulette in a sense. And you don't need the coach to go, hey, we're going to hammer the legs today, and you've planned to do hill runs for your marathon training tomorrow. That's going to set you back. It's not exactly what you need. Or you have a knee injury. And so I always say I want group class because like we need community more than ever, right? Like after the last 5-6 years. But yeah, I like it to be the icing on the cake, and that you have a core practice, and that could be I have my mobility sessions that I do in the morning, and I have 2 strength sessions I do per week that are designed for me, or at least I've found something that because I'm not pitching myself to coach you and write those programs or anything like that, or anybody, but you could find something that this looks like what I need to do. A couple of strength sessions, and then I ride my mountain bike or I go for a trail run on the weekends. And if I have time and the bandwidth, I'll throw in a group fitness class on Wednesday, and I doesn't even care what gets thrown at me because I've got all my boxes ticked.
Yeah, no, I get it, and for what it's worth, absolutely pitch away to everyone, because this is like, because I reckon some people wouldn't even know that you have an app, and that people can sign up and that you do free trials for 7 days and all the rest of it, and would really appreciate the your expertise in designing something that sort of provides them with that. However, devil's advocate here, what if my entire fitness regime are those classes? And that's actually just what I love. And let's say I am my age, almost 49, 49, I've got grown up kids, I'm running a business. I don't want to think about my absolute whole fitness career is built on these classes, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And I'm doing ceremony, and I'm doing pump, and I'm doing a spin, and I do, the run group from that particular gym. Just thinking about my Les Mills journey and what that could look like if I was to ever sign up again. Why isn't that enough? Or is it enough, actually?
Yes, because good on you. Thank you for bringing that, because that's was a point I was going to address. You sent me that whiteboard screenshot. Something is always better than nothing, of course. Like, that's really very important to stress that. I would much rather someone just went to group classes if that was what got them there. But it's just that spectrum I'm talking about. Is there's don't wonder why, if your goal is strength to get stronger. Don't wonder why you're not getting stronger if your classes are all hit circuits and a million burpees, and then you run on the weekends. Don't wonder why you're not losing body fat if you're training for high rocks, and so you're starving and you're having to literally fuel the workouts, right, and to stay on top of the training you're doing, but your goal is to lose weight, lose body fat. That's the thing. So make sure it's matching, and if it's not, you got to then. We talked acceptance earlier, and you have to accept, like, I'm getting generally fit, generally healthy. If it's not causing me any, long-term chronic aches, pains, and niggles, and I don't have a really big goal. Like I say, I had a lot of body fat to lose, or I really, really need to gain some muscle for my health. Then that's fine. Maybe it's like a point in your life where you just need some stability. Like, I can maintain this program, that's cool. I would still be like, can we have a conversation in 5 years about introducing some more strength training or mobility or something else? But if that right now, that's an anchor for you and it's keeping you going, 100% support it.
I love the way that you just framed that, because I feel like that is the bit, because I talk to a lot of people and they really truly love their group fitness class or their CrossFit workouts that they get, etc. And they also have goals of getting stronger, and they have these other goals. And whilst we want to, they're almost not that people need to seek permission, but often, what do you think of this? And I'm like, if your goal is to just, get your heart rate up, throw some things around, etc., awesome, do it. But to your point, if that isn't adjacent or matching their actual goal, then that's when the conversation needs to change. And I think that's the bit that people sort of forget. And particularly I see this a lot when people come into our program and they're like, I want to get stronger, but I still want to do this, I don't know, cycling for 6 days of the week or whatever.
Yeah, because and pull me up if I use terminology that sounds too much, but I would call your nutritional program a fairly aggressive one. And so it's important to recognize that and say, well, can I follow an aggressive nutrition program and train for a marathon? And people do on your programs, don't get me wrong.
I give them guidelines.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they have to, I don't know if compromise is the right term, but they have to think about both fueling their workouts and trying to be at a caloric intake that is supporting body composition changes. And it's tough. And that's why we know so much. That's why we can help. But it is tough. It'd be tough for you or I to tackle that. Like, it's definitely a challenge. And so you've got to factor a lot of things in. So being aware of what it's the what's your why, isn't it? And going 5 whys down. Oh, I just want to Why that? Oh, because, and suddenly we get to, actually it's complete. The 5th why looks completely different to the first why. And yeah, I do see, not to knock your sport, Mikki, but how many people, you'd know many as well, that would sign up for a marathon. Say, I'll sign up for a marathon. You're looking to, improve your running performance, cardiovascular health, you enjoy running. And those are like those first whys. And then we dig down to the 5th why. It's like, I think it might help me lose weight.
Yeah.
And again, that's fine. But is that the right way to do it necessarily? Or are we addressing nutrition? What's your muscle mass like, et cetera, et cetera? And yeah, very common. I think it's happening with High Rocks now as well. I sign up for High Rocks. Oh yeah, you're into, functional fitness, et cetera, competitive fitness. Dig our way down through the whys. No, but I see everyone with their shirts off and they look in great shape.
Wow.
Yeah, they're also half your age.
That's so interesting.
But maybe, maybe I'll look like that if I do that. I mean, that's always been like that with fitness, it has. My Pilates instructor, holy cow, looks like Pilates is what I need to do to look like that.
Yeah.
No, she also strength trains, or she used to strength train, and eats a certain way and is genetically designed a certain way. And again, it's half your age. We fall into that trap. There's that, I don't know, what is it, meme that goes around. I always sort of think about it. If it's something along the lines of, when you're 23, your diet is vodka and cigarettes, and you look like you're in awesome shape, and it's just been 23.
Yeah.
So and we forget that so often. We see, that looks like this is the thing. No, that fitness influencer is 23. They could be doing anything.
Do you know, I've had this is sort of a tangent, but on the same theme. Like, I've had a lot of thoughts about this. It's easy for me to not care that much about the scale when I'm running really well and I'm feeling really strong and I'm feeling really energetic. But I'm already lean, my not caring about the scale is not caring that I'm up a kilo. Whereas I appreciate actually why when you've got people like me going, you shouldn't worry about the scale if you're feeling really good, or, your energy, your health markers are fine. Like, you won't hear me say that, because I don't think it's not fair. I don't know what another word is. I mean, it's easy for me to say, but I'm not the one who may be struggling with a whole host of other, I don't know, body image issues or whatever. But I told you it was a tangent, but this is just what I sort of thought about. Like, it's an interesting one, like how much attention someone should pay to how they look versus how their body operates.
Yeah. It's a super important tangent. I really do think that's an important one, because that's the current style on social media right now. Is a younger and or genetically blessed influencer, I won't even call them a coach, saying you don't need to do X, you need to do Y. And it's only because it worked for them. It's an N of one. And it may not even be working for them, in the sense of, in 10 years, they'll be like, oh, heck, I don't seem to be able to stay on top of things the way I thought I was. And they struggle. And I see it. I've seen it happen in my industry. And again, this is not saying I know everything. I'll be changing my mind on stuff 10 years from now as well. But the number of coaches who are younger than me, who we've had conversations and they've gone, oh, when I push back on you talking about X, Y, Z, I get it now. And they just had to turn 40 or have a child or get their first major injury. And everything shifts, and they realize that they're operating from this silo, which is their own body and their own experiences. And it's tough to give advice when that's all we know. Like, inherently, we can have our own client examples and think that we're getting an idea about stuff, but we still kind of respond from the way our own bodies react and our own thoughts around those things. And it's a real process to I guess it's a form of empathy to properly understand what people are actually dealing with.
And I feel like we're in a privileged position with the access we have to people in something like Mondays Matter, for example, because you are sort of advising like several hundred people, and over the years we've now had several thousand people that, and within that you get a lot of different experiences, and as people who help people, we get exposed to other people's experience too. I think you grow a lot more as a coach and as an expert. It provides you that expert knowledge.
Yes. When I was younger, I would push back on people saying, like, I can still remember this one guy, again, when I was deep into the CrossFit methodology, and it was about hard training, and there's absolutely a place for that. But this one guy was like, he was really into what we were doing. And then one day he said he was quitting, and I was like, why? You love it? He's like, I do love it, but I can't handle it. I can't recover from it. Like, I've got young kids and a stressful job, and I am just beaten down all the time. And I'm glad that happened so early on. I'm sorry to lose that guy, but it was like a wake-up call that sometimes, again, doesn't matter how much you love doing something, if your life currently doesn't allow it, you need to listen. You need to make those connections and adjust accordingly. And there's plenty of people who can white knuckle their way through it for a long time, ignoring the signs, telling themselves that they just need to try harder if it's not working. But sometimes just things need to adjust.
Darren, are you still, like, I think maybe we talked about High Rocks a year ago. What are your thoughts on it now? Have they evolved or changed? What can I tell you how I feel about it? Just as you're formulating your thoughts. I wish I could do High Rocks because and just because I love the idea of it being a hard workout. I love the idea of being in that environment where you're pushed. I love the fact that it would take me probably an hour 40, and I love a hard workout that goes for ages. Like, even like my head will always take me there, even if my body doesn't support it. And then logically, I'll always cut it short. But my mind is it's absolutely attracted to all of that. However, I'm completely skillless when it comes to a ski erg. I couldn't do those. I probably could do those wall sits, maybe those wall balls. It would take me forever. Everything would take me an absolute age, squats, etc. So I don't know that I will ever do it, but it attracts me a little bit the way that CrossFit does. But I would not go near CrossFit because I do not have the skill.
And I think that's why High Rocks has gotten popular, because it is lower skill than CrossFit competition. And so the entry point is a bit easier, and it's great. Like, I think that's been great for the general public. And it's something I had ranted about local CrossFit comps for a long time, is the secrecy around the events and what they're comprised of, and the often riskiness that would come about from creating some events that were designed to be a spectacle, and not respecting the participants. We have people doing max lifts in the rain on slippery mats and things. That was a massive turnoff for the average person. Like, the people, when I was at my prime on that, and other people, we love that stuff. Like, dish it out. Like, the uncertainty and the riskiness was actually an attraction, but that's pretty rare. And so High Rocks has really won out for that. And so I love that. And I've got a client doing a race next weekend. And so, I still coach people to do it. Like, I'm not anti it. But again, I guess I'm anti in the choosing it for something other than it's not. There's certainly a level of performative fitness where people are doing stuff to be seen to be doing it. And that's, again, I don't think that's a very good why. at all.
Yeah, but that's your value system,
True,
right?
true. That's my value system. Yeah.
Yeah.
But doing it because it's a challenge, and you know that facing challenges will make you a better person. It's such a great idea. And I was never very competitive. I don't have this sort of kill instinct. So I did CrossFit because it helped me foster a bit more of that.
Really? Because I
Yeah.
just assumed that you were very competitive because you
No.
were so successfully competitive. I just figured that was the thing that drove you.
No, I never really I would always be, I would never get the bit between my teeth kind of thing. If I was getting beaten, I would sort of roll over.
Oh, that would be me too. I'm
Yeah.
exactly the same. Yeah.
Yeah. So I sort of continued to compete to try to improve that aspect of my personality, because I think it's why we're still around, right? We ate the Neanderthals or whatever, or killed them. I don't know what happened, but we Homo sapiens won the competition. So it's very inherent in our genetics, and certainly we can go too far with it, but losing it completely is a bad idea. So no, I think things like high rocks are good. Again, just making it all of your personality may not be the right thing. But again, if you're 20, absolutely. Make your social media handle, Bill Smith _high rocks, and go for it. Try to get to the world champs and stuff like that. That's important, right? But doing it at 52 and then your wife becoming a high rocks widow and your business suffering.
Are you projecting what would happen if you went down that road?
Maybe, yeah. But again, it's just finding the right approach, like getting the balance. It's just getting the balance right.
Yeah. That is funny that you say that, don't make it your whole identity. Because, look, I make running, and running is not my whole identity, actually, at all. But I think, I know runners who make running their whole identity, and I love that for them. Similarly, same with CrossFit, same with...
Yeah.
But I think this is again, just to call you out because we're mates and I can. I think that's just your value system, maybe.
Yeah.
And I guess the danger is, of course, if you suddenly can't do that thing. It's the same thing with if your whole identity is an All Black because you're an All Black, then suddenly you're injured on the sideline or you're dropped. Then, you don't have to be a sports psychologist to understand that that's not very good for your, self-worth.
Exactly. And you,
all the rest of it.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth, because that was what I was going to counter with. And we're seeing examples of it all the time of top athletes, going off the rails, drugs, crime, whatever else, when the thing that was their identity dries up. And I know at top levels, organizations are trying to implement education and support to help athletes transition from elite performance, because it is a tough thing. And so we're dealing with that. We don't have to be elite athletes to experience a form of that. That's, again, my values. But I do think if you want to make it your whole identity, what's your plan B? Just be aware of that, because one injury can change the game, and that's fine if you've go, all right, what's next?
Yeah, interesting stuff. I do enjoy having these conversations with you, Daz, because we can just chew the fat. We can say what's on our mind, and I don't think we're not in agreement on this. It's just looking at slightly different perspectives, but similarly sort of land in the same place.
Yeah, no, it's I've fully done the philosophical rabbit hole with sport and exercise at the moment. I want my daughter to challenge herself and to be adventurous and play all the things and do all the things and not be scared to climb a tree and swim out and big surf. But the moment she has an injury, if she breaks her leg or something, I'll be beside myself and petrified every time we go down, a steep trail on our mountain bikes. Should I take that away to reduce the risk of injury? Of course not. Could a terrible accident happen? I've got many clients who've broken their backs mountain biking. But if we take that away completely, right, a human won't flourish. We need a bit of risk. It's why we enjoy those sports in the first place. skydiving and motor racing and bungee jumping and all that stuff's like tied up to risk. So there's something about it for the human that we love that stuff. And so I think we need it to properly flourish. Where's the sweet spot? Like, I'm currently in a phase of where I've quit jiu-jitsu because I was getting injured all the time.
Oh,
I was
interesting.
getting so many injuries, more than CrossFit. But I really miss it. Social aspect, again, the competitive side, which I was mentioning, I'm trying to foster and keep alive. Like literally fighting another guy is as competitive as you can get. And that was good for me, but the injuries weren't. I then was weighing that up against, if I blew out a knee, I can't crawl around on the ground with my daughter. I can't pedal her to school, which I do most mornings. And that started like overshadowing the sport. And I got ChatGPT to make up this questionnaire, like a proper psychological questionnaire with points assigned and everything to figure out like if I should quit or stay.
That's good.
And then it actually came up with a third option, which would be maybe like stay involved in the sport through coaching or something like that. And anyway, it just narrowly said I should quit. And I was already leaning towards that. But it's funny, right? Some time away. Now I'm thinking about getting back to it again. But trying to find a way where I can, like whether it's the frequency of times per week I train, the way I train. I'm also I need to factor more stuff into my strength training to protect me against the particular demands, which is like any sport. And with those things in place, maybe I can manage it because, again, it's important for me, but I need to give it the respect. And I think that's what I'm trying to get at is like, if I do make this decision to go back into a risky sport, I need to think about the consequences, make time to implement the prehab and the strengthening that I need to be safe in the sport, and also then make peace and accept with it if an injury happens, that's the trade-off. And again, I'm going way down the philosophical rabbit hole, but I think that it is, as we age, those are the sort of thoughts we need to have around sport and activity. And as long as we just give them some time, that's okay. But again, blindly embracing something or ignoring a signal and not thinking about it is the mistake. And went on a real tangent there. But
no, and it actually ties right back into sort of where we started around the whole mobility thing, right? And I think about
true.
that. This is why 15 minutes to me still feels like 15 minutes. And for whatever reason, I'm like, 15 minutes. But I know that if I am not doing that work, then I'm going to continue to be injured in the sport that I say I love. Yet, I mean, how much, how important is it to me if I'm not willing to put this other time aside, which actually should just be part of the training? It's like nutrition, it's like nutrition should be factored as part of anyone's training because it's a big part of people feeling good doing whatever they're doing. But it's, people sort of loosely call it the fourth discipline of triathlon. There's only, if you're only in a one discipline sport, it's just like some sort of like element of the sport you need to consider, but it's very, not a small percentage of people might take it seriously, but a lot of people, don't really think about it. So it's not dissimilar to that, I think.
Yeah, and that makes me think of something else. The fact that you're realizing now that to continue running well, you need to introduce mobility. I'm seeing that a lot with strength training at the moment. The people I'm seeing at this gym that I'm doing some work at, I honestly think the last dozen people have been the same person in a sense of they come in and they say, it's getting harder to play tennis or golf or run or hike. And I realize that I need to do strength training if I want to continue to do that. And then at the same time, I also don't like the gym because I like to run or play tennis or golf. And it's a bit like that 23-year-old influencer who has a six-pack on vodka and cigarettes. We could get away with, I play tennis and I run, and that seemed to work fine for me to stay fit and healthy through my 20s, 30s, 40s, and now I'm approaching 50s. And for the woman, other things coming into the mix around that time as well. Suddenly, the ability of the human body to maintain a certain level of muscle mass is declining. And it was like, I thought golf was enough to be strong. And then suddenly it's not. And that's giving a lot of people a bit of a shock, a bit of a surprise. Why is golf or tennis or running getting harder now? And they'll push against it for a while, trying to figure out a solution. And unfortunately, the solution sort of was that they weren't doing the thing they should have been doing in the first place. But we didn't have the knowledge back then as well, I don't think. So we're sort of getting this generation coming through, realizing that strength training is an essential part of being able to still do the things you love. And that's what I say is, like, when they say I don't love the gym, I say I don't really love it either. But I want to be able to do jiu-jitsu. I want to be able to paddleboard. I want to be able to crawl around and chase my daughter. I want to be able to ride my mountain bike all day. And those things require an element of strength. So I go to the gym for the minimum amount possible to allow me to do those things better and to do them for many more years into the future.
Yeah, no, I love that, Darren. I'm 100% clearly on the same page. Where can people find out about your app and how to connect with you? Because, like I said, I don't think enough people know that you've got this amazing resource, which is pretty much you at their fingertips. And it's you at the back end of the app answering the questions, helping coach them, personalize that program to them. Similarly, in the Mondays Matter program, you're the one that is answering the questions in the Facebook page. You and I doing the Zoom calls. You're helping critique, issues, injuries, illness, etc. along the way and making it fit people's lifestyle. So tell them more.
Everything can be found at darrenellis.coach. It's a website. That's also the same handle on Instagram. And I do a lot of one-on-one coaching and programming, both in person and online. And that's where we are specifically creating programs for you. But then, the programming app I have is, I guess, both. It's a low budget way to take advantage of the stuff that I do. And so it is a template, but it's my idea of what a program would look like, a strength and mobility and conditioning program that you could do forever. That's sort of the goal, is like, what does training have to look like that you could sustain it forever? And so that's where you can get access to that.
That's awesome. And I mean, I guess just to that last point, a lot of people push back at meal plans or exercise apps with one program for one to many, because they're like, oh, but it's not individualized enough. And I've got to say, after 25 years in my industry, and similar to you, I'm sure 30 years in yours, like, we're not that different.
Yeah,
we're not that different. A lot of this, there's a lot of overlap, a lot of the same problems. I'm not saying that you're not a unique snowflake and there aren't little things that we need to consider, but honestly, for the general population, it's not that different.
Yeah, the stuff that I do, like when I'm doing individualized programming,
different.
I am, but where it's the same principles. Where I'm offering the most assistance is when I get an email from one of the clients who says, I'm off to San Francisco for work for a week, and he can send me a photo of the gym, and I can adapt his programming to fit the gear he has access to. Or I'm off to Thailand, I have nothing. All right, here's body weight workouts to do. I'm nursing an injury, we can adjust, and so we can get specific, but the principles are always the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the workouts will always look quite similar, whether it's a template or individual. For me, it's just I modify it individually.
No, yeah. I love that, Darren. One last question for you. What time do you go to bed if you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning?
Oh, I don't want to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes we hear a daddy from the next room, the young daughter. And if I get up at that time, I'm up.
Yeah, I get up.
So whereas my wife, if she gets up, she'll go back to bed for an hour or two after that. So, but I do try to be in bed at 8:30.
Nice one.
And that sounds very early, but it's an anticipation of the early wake. 9 or 9:30 would be like the sweet spot for me if I could guarantee sleep through the night.
No, I love it. I've got my alarm set is for 4:35. I mean, this morning I just woke up at 4:20. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm awake. That's good. But I generally like to try and be in bed by 9, so I have a bit of reading time and then I sleep. Yeah, no, it's good. Early bird catches the worm, isn't that what they say?
Exactly. But I love not having to wake up to an alarm. That's definitely the win for me. So I still get up early. Well, it's an alarm if my daughter's crying out, but otherwise, yeah, I'll still wake up probably pretty naturally around 5:30.
Yeah, nice.
And that's great.
Yeah. More of the day to get stuff done and live your best life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing, Darren. Well, as always, appreciate your time. Thank you. And look forward to working with you in the next 8 weeks or so.
They're always so much fun. I can't wait.
Alrighty, hopefully you enjoyed that. And honestly, like, someone said to me that this podcast was just a vehicle for me to being able to catch up with my mates, and they are not wrong. When I have mates as smart as Darren, I'm always going to want an excuse to sit down and have a conversation. And the fact that you can enjoy it too is just amazing for me. It's such a privilege. As I said, Monday's Matter registration kicks off next week, Monday, for a 10 August start. You can head on over to my website and find details of the program there. And if you have any questions at all about that or anything, feel free to hit me up. I'm on the socials, as you know, over on Instagram, Threads and X at Mikki Williden, on Facebook at Mikki Williden Nutrition, or head to my website, mikkiwilliden.com. All right, guys, you have the best week. See you later.